Hello and welcome to this tutorial on how to sew the Yolotl Loungewear Pants. You can find the link to the pattern in the description of this video. First of all, I'm cutting the pattern pieces for my View X shorts, including the pieces for the ruffles. I recommend using lightweight woven fabrics for this pattern, such as viscose, cotton, silk, or similar fabrics. I'm using a pink satin for this particular version. The seam allowance of 1 cm is included for all pattern pieces. I'm also making the View Y short pants with lace out of black satin. The first step for all views is to sew the pockets to the side of the front and back leg pieces. I'm using a regular straight stitch on my sewing machine, and I'm also understitching the seam allowance towards the pocket to make the seam fall flat. Now that we have attached the pockets, we can sew the side seams of the pants. Put together a back and front leg piece each and sew along the side, including the pocket. If your fabric frays easily, I also recommend finishing the seam with an overlock or zigzag stitch. As an optional step, I like securing the top part of the pocket to the front leg to make sure that it won't accidentally end up at the back leg. Then I finish the edge. Now we can sew the pant legs together at the crotch seam, putting the front pieces and back pieces together respectively. Finish the seam after sewing together. The next step is to sew the inner leg seam, which is a lot longer for View Z, but for View Y and X it's just a small seam. Again, don't forget to finish the seam afterwards. For View X, we continue with the ruffles. Pin and sew them right sides together at the narrow and wide sides respectively to form a loop. Finish the seam. Next, we can attach the ruffle to the hem of the pants. Pin the narrow end to the inner leg seam and the wide side of the ruffle to the side seam of the pants. Sew the ruffle to the hem of the pants and finish the seam afterwards. Fold the seam allowance up towards the pants and understitch it to the hem of the pants. Finish the hem of the ruffle with a rolled hem. Going back to View Y, cut the lace band by placing it at the bottom of your shorts and cutting 1 cm more on each side for the seam allowance. You will need 2 lace bands of approximately 7 cm width that are cut on the fold. The bottom side should have a pretty lace edge. Make sure to use non-elastic lace. Sew together each band on the short sides to form a loop. Now we can attach the lace to the hem of the pants. Pin them right sides together and sew. And finish the seam. Understitch the seam allowance to the hem of the pants. take the waistband piece, fold it in half to form a loop and sew. Then fold it in half along the long side and iron. Now we pin the waistband to the pants. Sew the waistband you folded in half to the pants, but leave a gap to insert the elastic. Cut a 4 cm wide elastic to fit comfortably around your waist and add 1 cm a seam allowance to each end. Then take a safety pin and use it to insert the elastic to the tunnel you created by sewing the waistband to the pants. Sew the ends of the elastic together. Then close the gap you left open for inserting the elastic and finish the seam. The last step is to top stitch the waistband with the elastic within. Use the longest straight stitch on your sewing machine and stretch the elastic so that the fabric lies flat while sewing. Sew in 2 parallel lines along the waistband. And the pants are done! Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, feel free to leave a like or comment and subscribe for more sewing tutorials and sewing patterns. Bye!